When we talk about the reading comprehension per se, it was introduced to us in very early schooling times. हम देख रहे हैं रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन अपने 4th से 5th स्टैंडर्ड से। तो रीडिंग कॉम्प्रिहेंशन का एक एसोसिएशन है हमारे पास कुछ वर्ड्स के साथ। We will always associate reading comprehension with some kind of an adjectives. हम क्या बोलेंगे? RC के साथ अगर मैं बोलूं किसी भी को भी, let's say if I'm asking even a postgraduate student, people will associate some of the words with it. The one word they will associate is the vocabulary part, and it's correct. We learn vocabulary through reading comprehension. The next thing they will talk about is the reading skills. Hanji, the RC helps you with the reading skills. The third thing they will be talking about is the knowledge part. जब आप different subjects से topics को पढ़ते हैं, and when you're reading the different topics and all, obviously it gives you the lot of knowledge. Now, what are the next some words? Let's say we are talking about grammar. Do we learn grammar? Yes, we do. Now the next thing would be the क्या हम literary skills सीखते हैं? Yes, we do learn literary skills. Now these are the words which we usually associate with the reading comprehension. School और college times में हमने हर class में पढ़ा है, तो obviously we are hardwired to see reading comprehension in such a way. लेकिन जब आप बात आती है कोई IQ टेस्ट पे, मान लेते हैं IQ टेस्ट आपका 12th क्लास में CUET है या ग्रेजुएट पोस्ट ग्रेजुएट में MBA GMAT है, CAT है, एनीथिंग इट माइट बी। IQ टेस्ट में ये सभी चीजें चेक नहीं होती हैं। IQ टेस्ट एक ही एस्पेक्ट को रन करता है, एक ही चीज को चेक करता है, एंड दैट वन वर्ड इज द अंडरस्टैंडिंग पार्ट। Okay, now you may say, let's check each and every word whether let's check each and every word, and am I correct in saying that? Now, when you look at the vocabulary part, vocab, एक IQ testing में usually the thing which matters is the context meaning, मतलब contextual meaning या उस word का meaning उस context में क्या है. Even if you are not understanding difficult words, it's very fine in an IQ test because it is not checking you for the English language skills. एक IQ test का जो main focus होता है वो आपकी understanding होता है कि without even, as we call it, हम phrase use करते हैं when we teach to the students, we have to understand it without understanding each and every word. The point is, अगर एक पैराग्राफ है और उसमें बहुत सारे डिफिकल्ट वर्ड्स हैं, we have a paragraph having very difficult words, we don't need to know each and every word. अगर मुझे मोटा मोटा मीनिंग या if I'm able to get a summarization of the whole paragraph, even by not knowing each and every word, my work is done in an IQ test. So what the point I'm trying to make is, let's say vocabulary में क्या challenge हो सकता है? या तो बहुत difficult word it can come, या एक technical word आ सकता है. Now when we talk about the difficult words, the IQ test will always focus on the context. And technical jargons अगर यूज करता है कोई भी IQ test तो definition जरूर डालेगा. So the point what I'm trying to put here is, a IQ test will like to see whether are you able to understand the main idea of the paragraph or the passage rather than going into each and every word. Every word you don't need to know. What I will do is, after all these talks, I will take you to a paragraph or in comprehension. I will try to check whether in an IQ test, do we need to know each and every word out of it. Now the second part we talked about was the reading skills. Now you may say, reading speed से तो मुझे फायदा होगा एक IQ test में. Actually, it doesn't help you. I'll give you an example. Let's say there is a paragraph which many of the people are reading in the, let's say, 5 minutes. Okay. And some people, slow people, are reading the same passage or same thing in 6 minutes. This 1 minute is not a very big problem. The problem would be when that 5 minute guy, is rereading the whole passage once over again and using more 5 minutes, and now it's going to be 10 minutes. So the point is, rather than the reading speed, the most important thing is you have to understand the whole thing in one reading. If अगर मैं एक रीडिंग में मेन आइडिया गेट कर पा रहा हूँ, तो my work is done, even if I'm a slow learner. So a slow learner even would be a 99 percentile or 100 percentile if he's not reading it once over again, which in our language we usually call it regression. Regression का मतलब है कि पैसेज को दोबारा जाके पढ़ना, क्योंकि आपको एक बार में समझ ही नहीं आया. So it's not important to be a fast reader. It's important to read the whole thing and understand it in one go. अब now a comprehension में अगर 200 words या 300 words का passage है, you don't need to remember each and every specific details. You should always try to focus upon the main idea. Are you able to understand the main idea without understanding each and every word or a difficult phrase or a clause? अगर difficult phrase, clause, word, sentence कुछ भी है, there can be a situation in which you may not be able to understand it. लेकिन अगर then also you are able to get a main idea, then your work is done. So what the point I'm saying is, जो आप school and college times में whatever the focus has been, your focus has been there. Now in an IQ test, what exactly will happen is that things are actually not needed. Now you have to focus upon only one aspect, and that is the understanding aspect. Okay. Now we will talk about the third aspect, and that is the knowledge. Now reading comprehension gives me knowledge, and obviously that would help me in doing any reading comprehension. But what kind of a knowledge is needed in an IQ test? Now you must have heard from, you must have even, I think, seen or heard from many teachers that you have to have a good, you keep on reading different topics, different subjects and everything, and the reading is important because it will give you the knowledge into it. See, knowledge is obviously good. Even if अगर हम पूरी लाइफ में देखें तो नॉलेज अच्छा है, लेकिन क्या IQ टेस्ट में भी नॉलेज इंपॉर्टेंस है? The point what I'm trying to say is, let's say you're having a different subject, like let's say some passages coming from science, something from eco, something from psychiatry, something different passages are coming, something from art, something from commerce, and something from science subjects. But do we need to have a full knowledge of it? My answer is no. Reason being, you just need the basic knowledge. So let's say if I am a commerce student, let's say, and I don't understand physics, chemistry, and biology, and obviously if a passage will come with a science topic, it will hamper me. It will actually मुझे एक problem होगा समझने में. But let's say if I have the basic knowledge of physics, a basic knowledge of, let's say, biology or chemistry, then I don't think you will have a much problem in it. So what the point I'm trying to say is, rather than being a scholar in that thing and reading everything, what you really need is the basic understandings of that subject. अगर मुझे physics में मतलब इतना पता है, basic 6th, 7th, 8th का मुझे बुक्स से देख के कि न्यूटन कौन था, आइंस्टाइन ने क्या किया, थियरी ऑफ रिलेटिविटी क्या है, और न्यूटन्स के लॉस ऑफ मोशन क्या है, फ्रिक्शन क्या होता है. सो इफ इवन इफ आई एम नोइंग वेरी स्मॉल थिंग्स, आई वुड बी एबल टू आंसर द साइंस क्वेश्चंस. द सेम थिंग if you are a science student and you don't know much about history or commerce or eco or any business studies and everything, you don't need to be a scholar in it, and please don't spend time reading everything, each and everything. Rather have a very focused approach. तो आपको क्या करना है? Rather than having the full knowledge of any subject, you should be knowing basic elements in every subject. साइंस का बेसिक्स आपको पता होना चाहिए। अब नाउ यू कैन आस्क मी ए क्वेश्चन, वो बेसिक्स कहाँ से पता चलेगा? वो पता चलेगा आपको एनसीईआरटी का नॉर्मल बुक्स, इवन इन द स्कूल लेवल बुक्स ऑफ योर्स, if you'll go for let's say 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th standard, you will be able, every subject is actually getting introduced at that time. See, I would say even in the first class you are introduced to science and social studies and everything, but then also to get a more better understanding of the subject, pick a 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th and 10th standard books and just read it, and not to learn but to understand what exactly these word phrases means. For example, you should be knowing what is an inflation, what is a GDP. So मोटा मोटा बेसिक चीजें आपको पता होनी चाहिए. तो you, if you are spending time reading the whole thing and over again and many things like that, it will not help you. Have a focused reading and try to develop a knowledge, in a basic knowledge into these subjects, rather than having I would say there is no need to you to be having a very proficient knowledge. A basic knowledge is enough for you to crack any answer. Now the next thing when we talk about is the grammar part. Grammar, yes, is important, but then also I would say an IQ test doesn't check you for the grammar. So as we call it reading comprehension, what we'll call it comprehension, word means understanding. So अपना focus understanding में रखो, rather than spending your time in learning vocabulary that is a very difficult words, or even trying to increase your reading speed. It will not help you. And even I know many of the teachers are telling you that you have to keep on reading many things, keep on become an avid reader, and you have to editorials and everything. My understanding is I have given a lot of IQ tests and even scored very well. So what I have learned out of it is you don't need very minute knowledge of any subject. Rather, अगर एक basic knowledge of school level, 6th, 7th, 8th kind of a level, I think it's much more than enough to crack any answer. Now, what we are going to do right now is we are going to move into a passage. Okay. Now I'll take you to the key analysis and I'll try to see whether whatever I've said till now, we'll try to practically apply it and see whether it is applicable, whether everything what I'm saying is practical or not. Okay. So let's move into the key analysis. Now let's check some of the essays, and I think this is a very good source from where we can look at some of the difficult passages. Now, the first passage we are talking about the virtues, and virtues, let's leave it. We'll talk the metaphysics, desperate remedies. Now, this is one of the passage we are going to talk about today. What is the main agenda of ours is, हम देखना चाहते हैं कि whatever I have said, is it applicable or not? Let's say this is the passage which comes in any IQ test, whatever the IQ test you are given, और ये एक पैसेज आता है आपको, तो हम इस पैसेज को देखते हैं कि क्या विदाउट हैविंग गुड, विदाउट इवन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड vocabulary, without having a very speed reading, and without even having a knowledge in the physics, would I be able to answer the question? Okay, would I be able to get the main idea of the passage? Now, this is the first paragraph I'm going to talk about. Let's read it. When radioactivity was discovered at the end of the 19th century, it surprised every scientist. Okay, it's easy to learn. Now, radioactive decay could transmute one element to another. Now, in this sentence, I'm not able to understand, let's say, this word, this sentence. Now, I understand decay, I understand one element to another, but I'm not able to understand the word transmute. This is, let's say, a new word for me. But when you look at the context of it, are we not able to understand that it is something getting from one place to another kind of a thing? When even let's say I'm not able to understand this word, am I able to understand the context meaning? The idea is, and the answer is yes. So radioactive decay could transmute one element to another. It means it is taking something from one element to another. Now a conversion previously thought possible only in the dreams of alchemist. Now फिर मुझे समझ नहीं आया alchemist क्या होता है. The point is चाहिए ही नहीं समझना. I don't need to know what is an alchemist and what is a word transmute. Now, without understanding these words, because let's say I'm very bad in vocabulary, तो मुझे मीनिंग नहीं पता है, लेकिन मुझे पता है, I can tell you the meanings. See, alchemist basically, no, we'll come to the meaning afterwards. Okay, I'll read the whole passage and get the main idea, then I will go into the words. The point what I'm trying to say is, without even understanding a difficult words and without even doing any fast reading and without having a knowledge of the physics or science, I would be able to get the main idea of the passage. In the process, mysterious beams of energy were emitted from the source material. So beams that were at first taken for a type of light, but soon revealed to be something else altogether. Okay. By examining the extent to which those radioactive emissions were able to penetrate other materials, scientists realized that there was a different types of decay. Okay. Okay. So alpha decay resulted in emission that could be blocked by a thin sheet of paper, whereas gamma decay resulted in the emission that could be stopped by anything short of a very thick layers of lead, which is a metal. Now, there are many things which are not able to understand, let's say. But then also, are you able to get the main idea? अगर मैं इसे main idea आपसे पूछूं, तो what is the main idea out of it? The point they are talking about is the radioactive decay, and they talked about two rays, which is the alpha and the gamma rays. So let's say if I am trying to get the main idea of the first passage. So what is the main idea of the first passage without understanding even the difficult words and any phrases even? So when we talk about the first paragraph, let's say the first paragraph we talk about, it is talking about radioactive decay, and it talked about two rays. It talked about alpha and it talked about gamma. So this is what the main idea of the passage, of the prefacing of the first passage is. So it is just talking about the radioactive decay and everything. So even without knowing the words, I am able to get the main idea out of it. Now we're talking about the second paragraph. Let's read it. In terms of the penetrating power, third type of decay, beta decay, was neither exceptionally weak nor exceptionally strong. Okay. These emissions could penetrate paper, but not sheets of metal. Okay. By the early centuries, scientists knew that the beta decay was a process that emitted electrons. Okay. But experiments on these emitted electrons raised a mystery of their own, whereas other types of radioactive emissions always had a discrete amount of energy, which shows a characteristic of the source material. The electrons that were emitted during beta decay took a continuous range of energy values. Okay. This result, which was called the continuous beta spectrum, meant that if you took two electrons that have been emitted from the same source material during the beta decay, one of the electrons sometimes had less energy than the other, and the difference in the amount of the energy between the two electrons varied. Okay. Now, when we read this paragraph, there are many things we may not be able to understand. For example, let's say I'm not able to understand what is the continuous beta spectrum. Even this discrete amount of energy, I'm not able to understand. Discrete in a word means distinct or separate. But then also I'm not able to understand what exactly this sentence means in itself. But then also, even without understanding the phrases and sentences, am I able to get the main idea, even without having a good knowledge of the physics or the science? Now, what exactly it's saying is, it talked about beta decay. Now, let's try to rephrase this kind of a thing, okay? In the second paragraph, what we have done is, if I talk about the paraphrasing, क्या paraphrasing है इसका? Beta ray का बात हुआ. And the most important thing that they talked about was the electrons having different energy. Okay. Now, as even in one of the class previously, I have told you that when you're doing any reading comprehension, if you are paraphrasing the first paragraph, in the second paragraph, you have to have it two kind of paraphrases. One paraphrases will talk about the the paragraph, the second paragraph, but there is a one more line you will need, one more paraphrasing which you have to do, which will be the first and the second paragraph together. So in that way, what we'll do is whenever we'll keep on moving through the paragraphs, one के बाद दो में, तीन में, चार में जब जाएंगे, so what we will keep on doing would be we would be taking out the paraphrasing of one every paragraph, but till that time, whatever the paragraphs you had, that is, let's say if I'm talking about the third paragraph, you have to paraphrase the first, second, and third even with that. So we're in the second paragraph right now. So there are two paraphrasing we have to do. The first paraphrasing we already done, which is the of that paragraph. लेकिन अभी एक और paraphrasing करेंगे जिसमें 1 and 2 combined है. इसका paraphrasing क्या होगा कि we are talking about alpha, beta, and gamma rays, and we talked about an issue which was the electrons का energy level is different. So what we have done is we have done two paraphrasing right now. The one paraphrasing of that paragraph and the second paraphrasing is of all the paragraphs till that paragraph. अगर हम second paragraph में हैं तो 1 and 2 combined, and if we are in the third paragraph we will have two paraphrases. One is a paraphrase of the paragraph and the third is of the combined till that thing. Okay, now what I'm trying to put forward is, without even understanding each and every word, am I able to create a picture out of it? Am I able to get the main idea of it? The answer is yes. So vocabulary, reading speed, the knowledge part, all three are getting answered at what kind of a level you need. Okay, now we are moving back to the passage and see how the things are shaping up. Now what we will do is we will go into the further paragraphs. Where did the energy that was present in one case and missing the other case go? I think they are talking about electrons having the different energies. एक electron में energy जो दूसरे electron से different था. So this was a crucial question because if it could not be answered, beta decay would involve a violation of the conservation of energy. Some of the greatest experimental physicists of that time revisited these surprising results again and again, but more than 15 years after the continuous beta spectrum was first observed, it still wasn't clear what explained it. Now, there are many things which are still I'm not able to understand. Beta spectrum. What do you mean by experimental physicists and all? What is a reference of conservation of energy here? But then also, if I look at the main idea till now, we still have the main idea that the electrons having different energy, and that is the point they are pondering about, or they are वो चीज उन्हें समझ नहीं आ रहा है. That's we are actually getting clear till now. Now this is small paragraph, so we'll read one more paragraph with it. We'll take third and the fourth as third only. Okay. So in early whatever the thing, Wolfgang Pauli penned an open letter to a group of nuclear physicists who were gathering for a meeting in Tübingen in Germany. I don't know how to pronounce it. So Pauli was first 30 years old, was just 30 years old, okay, but already well known for his work on relativity and the foundations of quantum theory, okay, including the Pauli exclusion principle, okay. He has been puzzling over a continuous beta spectrum for several years. So he wrote, "Dear radioactive ladies and gentlemen, okay, radioactive gentlemen, okay." His letter began, "I have with respect to dash the continuous beta spectrum, it upon a desperate remedy." अब ये paragraph, so there are many technical, work on relativity, foundations of quantum theory, of Pauli exclusion principle. continuous beta spectrum. But then also, if you look at it, now let's say the third and the fourth paragraph, we are taking it as only three. And we are moving back to our board, let's say. Now let's paraphrase it. Now we have already read the third and the fourth paragraph of that passage. Okay. So इसको main idea निकालते हैं. So दो main idea we would be taking it out. The first one would be the paragraph. So what is the main idea here? So same issue still is there. What is the issue? Electrons का energy level का अभी भी issue चल रहा है. And one of the scientists by the name of Pauly has written to scientists. That's what we are able to. Some meeting is going on and some introduction of that is. Now let's say there is one more paraphrasing I want to do, which should include the main idea of first, second, third, and the fourth paragraph. So a cumulative, yeah, summation main idea till now. What is it? So we talked about radioactive rays. We talked about, but still the situation is the same, that electrons can different energy level. We are still not very clear with. And there is an introduction of a scientist by the name of Pauly. So we have got the main idea till the four paragraphs. Now, this is the most important thing in any kind of an IQ test when we're looking at. If you're able to get the main idea, it means you're understanding the full thing, even without knowing each and every word or a phrase or a clause. So this is the main thing which we are supposed to do in an IQ test. Now, let's read it further. Okay, I'm moving back to the passage. Pauly's suggestion was that the beta decay produced, in addition to the observed electron, another here observed particle. Okay, he called this particle the neutron. Okay, because it would not have neither the positive nor the negative electric charge on this model, the amount of energy released by each beta decay event as a whole would be as expected discrete, but as that energy would be split the range of ways within the electron, the new particle, the energy of the electron would take a continuous range of values. I'm not able to understand many of the phrases, but what is the main idea? Still, I'm able to understand the main idea. The main idea, they are talking about something called neutron. So there was some problem. I'm aware of the problem they were facing. What is the problem they were facing? The electrons different energy levels. So I think they were expecting that a beta decay of, if there is a source material, उससे जो इलेक्ट्रॉन का एनर्जी लेवल सेम होना चाहिए. दिस इज व्हाट आई एम एबल टू गेट द मेन आइडिया. ओके, नाउ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स का मेन एक ही एनर्जी लेवल होना चाहिए था, लेकिन एनर्जी लेवल डिफरेंट था. दैट्स व्हाई दे इंट्रोड्यूस अ न्यू थिंग कॉल्ड न्यूट्रॉन, एंड by the explanation of neutron they are trying to explain that different how the electrons were having a different energy level. Now try to understand this point here. I may not be able to understand some of the sentences. So this is a process we call in RC understand without understanding. So what it means is understand the main idea without even understanding the vocabulary part or the difficult words. Okay, this is what I'm trying to prove. What I'm trying to prove through this session is you don't need a difficult vocabulary, you don't need to learn it. If you're doing an IQ test, अगर आप MA English कर रहे हैं, या if you are doing a PhD English, then you should be learning it. But this is not a language test. This is an IQ test. IQ test checks your IQ or tests your understanding rather than you don't need to be a scholar in a subject. Okay. Acha, now. So we are able to, I may not be able to understand many of the sentences here, But I have a very clear understanding of the problem they were facing, and that is the electrons having different energy levels. That is the problem which I learned from the previous four paragraphs. And the fifth paragraph is providing a solution to that problem of energy, electrons having different energy by introducing a new particle. Okay, so I'll read the next one. So this was a truly audacious project at the time. The only subatomic particles known to the physicists were protons and electrons, and the idea of introducing an additional neutrally charged particle would have been, according to one historian of science, nothing short of a abhorrent. Eugene Wigner, himself a purveyor of perplexing, put experiments in the foundation of quantum theory, is reported to have said that his first reaction upon hearing the Polish posit was that it was crazy and courageous. Okay. Now let's look at this paragraph. This actual paragraph is a very interesting paragraph. I may not know what is audacious. I may not know what is an abhorrent. I may not even may be able to understand many phrases here. But like foundations of quantum theory, I may not be able to know. But in overall understanding, और हम main idea अगर इसका बोलें, तो as Pauli introduced a neutron, yes, a particle called neutron. Many of the people were taking it as more of, they were accepting it, or I would say they were calling it in a way crazy but courageous. Okay. Now we have gone through 6 and 7 passages till now. Okay. So are we able to get the main idea till now? If I'll ask you right now, let's say this was a passage which was coming in an IQ test, and which maybe MBA, maybe CUET or anything. अगर मैं आपसे बोलूं fourth में, let's leave the book. Let's have the main idea of the whole passage. पूरे comprehension का, पूरा passage का, we read around what 6 to 7 paragraphs. And this is a size which every IQ test will pick. Now, if I ask you, till now, what is the main idea? We were not able to understand many of the science phrases, many of the words. क्या main idea? Main idea simple. जो अगर मैं आप simply आप समझ सकते हैं. It was you may write beta decay, different energy levels, electrons को, and how they solve the whole thing by, let me take you here, by introduction of a particle which is neutron. So this is the main idea of the total thing. And if I have to, let's say, if I ask you, please tell me the topic of the passage we've just read it. हमने paragraphs पढ़ा, पूरा passage पढ़ा. What is the introduction? It is simply the invention of, or I would say the discovery of, or the hypothesis of neutrons, a new subatomic particle. We knew only protons and electrons, and I think Pauli has introduced a new particle by the name neutron. So the main idea of all these 5 to 6 or 7 paragraphs was that there's a radioactive decay. They talked about 3 days. They talked about beta decay. They talked about electrons having different energy levels. And then they introduced a neutron to explain that electrons different energy levels. So what we have done is, what actually I have shown you is vocabulary, reading, even the knowledge. You just needed a very elementary knowledge to understand this passage. This physics, the radioactive thing we have read through all the paragraphs. What we needed was that if we know what is protons, what is an atom, what is an electron, which is a very basic knowledge in physics or chemistry, we would be able to answer, we will be able to get the main idea of the passage. And if I'm able to get the main idea of the passage, main idea of the total thing, I actually have understood the whole passage, and I'm very now my accuracy levels in marking the answer would be very high. Now in reading comprehension, there are three kind of questions which comes. The one question will be just like these things, which you may call it the sorry the main idea questions. Now, a questions even can have a specific information पूछ सकता है आपसे. The third thing is the CR based questions, the critical reasoning based questions. But जो भी क्वेश्चन हो, एक्चुअली सारी चीजें एक ही बेसिस पे लाई करता है, अंडरस्टैंडिंग पार्ट पे. इफ यू आप अंडरस्टैंड ही नहीं करेंगे तो you would be able to answer any question. So if you're able to understand the passage, let's say in the one reading, and if you're able to come up with the main idea of the total passage in the one reading, you would have a very high accuracy in marking the answers. So that is the point I was trying to raise. So if you want to have very good numbers, a very good percentile in the reading comprehension, then try to develop a skill or try to focus upon the thing which an IQ test wants from you. और वो आपको लैंग्वेज प्रोफेसर बनाना नहीं चाहता है, वो ये देखना चाहता है कि विदाउट इवन अंडरस्टैंडिंग ईच एंड एवरी वर्ड, is he able to come out with the main idea? Is he able to understand the whole situation, which as a manager, future CEO, future entrepreneur, you need to do in your life. Okay. Thank you. Thanks.